Don't even move. I was watching jejely and heard a story like never before. Join me to listen. If I tell you what I just saw in Chris's parlor, your ears will bleed. You know how everyone calls them the perfect couple of Lekki? Lie, pure lie. I just caught Chris, a whole chairman, rolling on the floor, sobbing like a baby over another woman's photo, while his wife, Joy, stood in the shadows laughing. By the time I finish this gist, you will realize that being a good wife is sometimes the scariest mask a woman can wear in this Lagos. Wait, let me breathe first. I went there to drop that lace material for Joy. You know, the one for the wedding on Saturday. The gate was open and the house was quiet, too quiet for a Monday morning. I walked into the sitting room and the AC was blasting, but the air felt heavy, like someone had died. I heard this low, choking sound coming from the study. I peeped, and my sister, I saw Chris. He wasn't wearing his usual expensive agbada. He was in a singlet, sitting on the floor, clutching a small framed photo of a girl with a tiny birthmark on her neck. It wasn't Joy, it was Amanda, that girl from the village he was supposed to marry years ago before his family forced him to marry status. He was wailing, Amanda, where did they take you? Why did you just vanish? He was literally wiping his tears with Joy's white wedding veil that was draped over a chair. It was heart-wrenching. You see, Amanda didn't just break up with him. She went missing mysteriously 6 months ago. One day she was at the market. The next day, poof, gone. No trace, no ransom call, nothing. Chris has spent millions on police and informants, but today he looked like a man who had finally given up hope. He was kissing the glass of the photo, whispering that he would give up all his riches just to know if she was still breathing. But then I looked toward the kitchen door. Joy was standing there. She wasn't crying, she wasn't screaming. She was holding a glass of chilled juice, watching her husband break into pieces with a smile that would make a ghost run. She looked at me, put a finger to her lips, and winked. It was the kind of wink that tells you the hunter knows exactly where the prey is buried. Chris thinks the world swallowed Amanda whole, but the way Joy was looking at him, it was clear she wasn't mourning a rival. She was celebrating a victory. I stood there frozen. The greed in this house is not about money. It's about the greed of the heart. Joy wanted 100% of a man who only gave her 10%. So, she decided if she couldn't have his love, she would own his misery. She watched him wither away, becoming a shell of the man he used to be. Now, seeing him on the floor broken and crying over a woman who vanished, Joy has finally won. She has him right where she wants him. A man who has nobody left to turn to but the wife who is secretly feeding on his pain. This is the goal, my friend, to catch him crying, knowing you are the reason he has no one else to hold. I watched as Joy finally stepped out of the shadows, her silk robe dragging on the floor like a queen approaching a fallen soldier. She didn't look angry. She looked satisfied, like a person who just finished a five-star meal. Chris didn't even hear her coming. He was still shaking, pressing Amanda's photo to his chest. I went to the police again today, Joy. He choked out, not even looking up. They said the file is cold. 6 months and not even a shoe found. How can a human being just evaporate in this Lagos? Joy knelt behind him, her long nails scratching his scalp softly, almost like a predator comforting its prey. My king, she whispered, her voice as sweet as honey mixed with battery acid. Maybe she didn't want to be found. Maybe she saw how much more I could give you and she just gave up. Chris let out a howl of pain. No, she loved me. She wouldn't just leave. My sister, the way Joy's face changed when he said that, it was like watching a masquerade remove its mask. For a split second, I saw pure, unadulterated envy. She hated that, even though Amanda was missing, she still owned Chris's soul. But then, She regained her balance. She started humming a song, a traditional Igbo lullaby that Amanda used to sing. Chris froze. How how do you know that song? He asked, his voice trembling. Joy didn't blink. Oh, I hear it in my dreams, Chris. Sometimes I feel like she's still right here with us, close enough to touch. She leaned down and kissed his forehead, right where his sweat was mixing with tears. At that moment, I noticed something that made my stomach turn. Joy was wearing a gold anklet, the exact same one Amanda was wearing in that photo Chris was holding. Chris saw it too. His eyes went wide, his breath hitched, and he looked from the anklet to his wife's eyes. He wasn't crying for Amanda anymore. He was starting to cry out of pure, shivering fear. Joy, where did you get that? He whispered, his voice cracking like dry wood. Joy just laughed, a light, airy sound that echoed in the silent house. I found it, darling, in a place where no one else will ever look. She looked at me then, her eyes telling me that if I breathed the word of this on the streets of Lagos, I'd be the next missing person. She has achieved it. She caught him crying. She broke his spirit, and now she was installing a new emotion in its place: terror. She wanted him to know, without her ever saying it, that she was the reason for his silence. The atmosphere was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Where is she, Joy? Chris screamed, his voice cracking the expensive silence of the room. If you have that anklet, it means you touched her. What did you do to Amanda? Joy didn't scream back. She just reached into her silk pocket and pulled out a tablet. She swiped the screen and handed it to him. My sister. I almost fainted where I was hiding. On the screen was a live video feed of a small, beautiful house in a quiet part of Enugu. There was Amanda. She wasn't hurt. She wasn't crying. She was sitting on a porch, heavily pregnant, laughing as a man. Chris's own younger brother, Emeka, rubbed her belly. The air left Chris's lungs like a burst tire. Emeka, my own blood? Joy leaned down, whispering into his ear like a wicked spirit. Amanda didn't vanish, darling. She just chose the brother who was willing to give up everything instead of the one who married me for a business merger. I've been the one paying their rent for 6 months. I bought their silence, and I brought a happiness away from you. Chris started to wail, a sound so deep it felt like his soul was being ripped out. He wasn't just losing a girlfriend. He had been betrayed by his wife, his brother, and his true love in one single, coordinated strike. The heart-wrenching part? Joy looked him dead in the eye and said, I catch you crying for her every day, and it gives me joy, because every tear you drop for her is a payment for the years you ignored me in this marriage. You will stay here. You will keep being the power couple of Lekki. And if you ever try to leave me or stop the money flow, I will tell the world you are a madman, and I will cut off the charity I'm giving your brother and his new family. She patted his cheek, her gold rings clinking. Chris realized then that he was a prisoner in his own palace. He had achieved his goal of knowing the truth, but the truth was a cage. He sat there, staring at the screen at the woman he loved carrying his brother's child, while his wife started humming a song and headed to the kitchen to order dinner. He was crying for a woman who was living her best life on his own money, guarded by the wife who hated him. As I crept out of that house, shaking like a leaf, I realized Joy didn't want to kill him. She wanted him to live forever in a hell she created just for him. Lagos is wicked, my sister. Some loves don't end in a funeral. They end in a video call you can never hang up.